to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Jermeen and today is another episode of Money Matters. So today, April 4th, is Equal Pay Day, and I thought it would be fitting to discuss the gender pay gap. There's also the racial pay gap, but that's another story for another day. Today we are focusing specifically on the gender pay gap. Now, there's this theory that women tend to pick jobs which are, in essence, lower paying jobs than men. So you'll have, for example, a lawyer who may be a male versus a woman who may be a social worker. Now, in this case, it is very possible, well, not even possible, we know in actuality that a social worker does make less than a lawyer. That's something that you would deem to be reasonable. But let's say you have someone like me, for instance, an accountant, an auditor, who also has a male counterpart. Let's say we graduated the same year, we kind of climbed up the ranks together, we've been in the field for the same amount of years, but we don't make the same pay. That's really what the pay gap is about. Now, there's a few theories about why the gender pay gap exists, and I'm just going to touch on a few. So the first one is salary negotiation. Now, I believe I've spoken about this a little bit on my channel before, where women don't always feel as confident to negotiate their salaries as much as men. Now, while this may be an issue, it's kind of a small issue when you compare it to what's happening with the gender pay gap. You do have women who do negotiate their salary and who demand what they're worth, but even in those cases, they may still make less than a male counterpart. Now, there's also the idea of what's called the mommy tax. Now, it's no secret that as you get older, you get more mature in your career, you may have things that happen in life, such as having kids. It's no secret that when children come into the picture, women may want to work remotely. Sometimes they may look for jobs that have more flexible hours, and in essence, they just may want to spend a little bit more time at home than they would at the office from the time compared to the time that when they didn't have children. Men, on the other hand, rarely take paternal leave, but they do have it now that some jobs actually require men to take. I believe it's about 2 weeks if they do have a new baby. But when you compare it to what women take, some women take the minimum 3 months plus more. And there's this idea that once you haven't been at work for a little while, you get behind. Or maybe you're not behind, you're still on your game, but what it's perceived is that the people that you report to, whether male or female, they may think that you aren't as dedicated to your job as you once were. They may make the decision for you to say, oh, she probably wants to be home more. You know, they may not think that you have that same drive. So then you have male counterparts, per se, that may get promoted ahead of you, that may get they may land the better deals, the better jobs, the better clients, things of that nature. There's also this idea that women tend to shy away from competition. So in your office, let's say for an example, you may be well qualified, the job really should be yours, but we already know that a lot of times if you aren't tooting your own horn, no one's going to toot it for you, right? But then you may have a male counterpart. Now, whether he's qualified or not, a lot of times they tend to exude a confidence that comes with a sense of entitlement, where they believe that they should land that deal, they should land that client, and they're going to go for it regardless of whether they feel they're qualified or not. Where sometimes we tend to lay back, be shy, and hope that it's given to us, and hope that someone saw our hard work, you know, that someone is looking at our performance reports and saying, oh, you know, she's exceeding expectations, she's doing a damn thing, let's promote her. But let's be honest, that really doesn't happen. I did some research and I came across a pretty in-depth article. It was from a professor of economics at Harvard who kind of dedicated her time in her career to really researching and understanding what the gender pay gap was about. Now, you'll see people who talk about the gender pay gap that just want to say, oh, equal pay for equal work. But a lot of times you have to ask yourself, is it really equal work? Now, I'm a woman, so don't get me wrong. Give me all the coins you're supposed to give me. But we have to be realistic, and we have to remove any bias to really understand what the foundation or where this gender pay gap derives from, because only then can we actually move forward in closing the gap. So one of the things that she spoke about was people tend to say that, oh, it's discrimination. Men, you know, there's this idea that men just automatically work harder than women. That's not always true, and there's not a lot of data to actually back that up. However, she talked about a case study she did where she had a woman and a man who both graduated from the same school, had the same degree, started the same job, and up until the point that women wanted flexibility in her job, she was making the same as her male counterpart. Now, should a woman be penalized for wanting more flexibility? No. But let's be honest, in the working world, especially corporate, people tend to side eye you when you want to maybe work from home or work remotely a little bit more, or if you're looking for, some kind of flexibility in your hours, and they tend to, praise the person that's there before, everybody, the person that's there when everybody leaves, the person that closes it down, opens it up, the one that's just always seen as working hard. That's the person that a lot of times gets the promotion, and a lot of times it tends to be men. As a woman, I've been in the working world for a little over 7 years, and as I get further along in my career, that is something that I kind of look forward to, and that is something that eventually, yes, I do want. I do want a little bit more flexibility, but I also know that flexibility doesn't equate working any less harder than someone else who's in the office. I can tell you right now, my first job out of college, we worked. We was coming in at 9, and during busy season, we wasn't leaving until midnight and sometimes later. And a lot of those hours you were unproductive because you just had been at the office for so long. You've been staring at the screen for so long. So a lot of times you then tend to drift off, and you're not as efficient as you could be had you actually done that work in a shorter amount of time. Staying at work just to show face doesn't mean that you're working harder, but a lot of times that's what higher ups tend to like, and that's what they tend to see. So it's like, oh, this person is working harder, let me promote them. I chose to do this video because it is Financial Literacy Month. I wanted to start talking about some of the basics, some of the foundation for things that set us up for financial success. And with today being Equal Pay Day, I thought it'd be good to shed some light on the issue. Now, of course, I don't really have all the answers, and I don't know what would actually close the gap, because let's be honest, even if you went in there and demanded what you were worth and you negotiated your salary, that may not mean that you're going to make the same as your male counterpart. But does that mean that you should negotiate? Of course not. You would be silly to leave money on the table that truly should be yours. Up until I did my own research, I really thought that the gender pay gap was just some topic of, just some issue of discrimination, whereas employers just thought that women didn't work as hard as men work harder, let's make sure we pay them. Women want to be mothers, they want to be mothers, they want to be nurturers. They're not in the office all the time, so maybe they don't deserve to be paid as much. But reading the research from the professor of economics at Harvard did give me a different way of looking at things, and you have to kind of remove the bias and really understand there's layers to the issue, and just simply saying pay women more won't close the gap. But I challenge you to pay attention to the issues that will affect you, because these directly affect your pockets. And not to mention that even though the pay gap sounds small, over a period of time, this equates to a large sum of money. This affects essentially how much you can save for retirement, the type of financial goals that you won't be able to reach as quickly as maybe some of your male counterparts. So while you think that this issue doesn't affect you, it does. When former President Obama was elected, the first bill that he signed into law was the Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act. I'm going to read a little bit of the background on the act just so you guys have an idea of what it was about. So pretty much the new act states that the 180-day statute of limitations for filing an equal pay lawsuit regarding pay discrimination reset with every new paycheck affected by that discriminatory action. Now, while this shows that the government pretty much realized that this is indeed an issue, this doesn't change the fact that an employer can pay a woman less money than her male counterpart for doing the same job, which is equal pay for equal work. Now, as someone who advocates for financial literacy and for understanding how your money works and how to manage it, this is something that I am following closely, and as updates are made, I will keep you guys informed. If you have any questions, as always, you can leave it in the comment box below. I'll also leave the link below to the article that I read from the professor of economics at Harvard and the research that she's done regarding the gender pay gap. Be sure to share this video and make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned for the rest of the Money Matters videos for the month of April, because we'll be focusing on the basics of personal finance, as it is Financial Literacy Month, and it's important to understand the foundation if you want to move forward and actually achieve financial success. See you guys next week. Peace.